Call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for the town of St. Paul for Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. It's approximately 7:01. We're going to take the roll call. So Jason? Here. Tammy?
Here.
Eric? Camden? And Gary Sprague is here. All right, so let's, we do have a quorum. So let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so Greg, you submitted a public comment sheet. Did you want to talk at this time?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So we're at the public comments for non-public hearing items, so go ahead.
All right. Thank you, sir. So I've got two items that I'll speak about, and it'll be 4.4, the discussion regarding 1403 Lakeview and 1708 Parker. And it's specifically about the 1403 Lakeview. I live at the house next door, so this part of the comment is going to be partially personal. I live at 1402 Parker Road, so 1403 is my neighbor to the left. And I spoke to the individual that was a prospective home buyer, and he had informed me that he was looking at buying the property, but his intent was to run business out of the backyard. Basically a garage shop, a wood chopping or fireplace wood sales, and a landscaping company that used to be on Parker Road that's no longer there because the property was sold, so they had to move it and they were looking for a new property. He even informed me that they wanted the 1403 property because it would give them easy access to Parker Road in the morning, so when they would leave with their landscape trucks, they would have easy access to pull out on the Parker Road. Well, my contention is this is residential. This is on a residential street. This, to do business operations in a backyard is just nothing less than just sneaky. It's trying to avoid the construction permits necessary for commercial buildings to try to do this operation inside your backyard, and just to want to put up a wood fence, a 6 to 7 foot wood fence all the way around the property so nobody could, this is a quote, see our construction trucks. Again, it just smacks of we're trying to do something sneaky and avoid and get around doing business taxes and paying all the cost of business operations by doing this out of their residential their residential property. I have a problem with it, number one, because it's next door to me. Number two, it's trying to avoid and circumvent all the planning and zoning, the operations that planning and zoning does. You guys already segment out what's light industrial, where's operations, where's business, where's commercial ventures. It's not in the middle of a residential neighborhood. And I feel like if citizens or if individuals that know that an individual is trying to do something and circumvent the system and don't inform you of this, it's a disservice. I think you guys need to know when a person is trying to circumvent the system and basically do something sneaky or underhanded. And that's nothing less than what the individual that's trying to purchase the property is doing. I think he's interested in the 1708 Parker, and he told me if it didn't work at 1403, he literally told me this standing at the fence. He said, if it doesn't work at 1403, there's another one down the street, we're going to try to do that one. So he's already informed me, we want to buy residential property and just do this back in the backyard and kind of circumvent all the business aspects of actually running a business. So, just so you guys know, and I hope that you guys will uphold the residential neighborhoods and make sure that individuals that do this kind of thing, they don't succeed. And because there's plenty of opportunity and operations around the city, in the city, or in the correct areas where light industrial or some kind of commercial operation could be in effect, and that's perfectly acceptable. But you don't do it in the middle of a neighborhood. You know, we all know Fort Worth. I like Fort Worth too. However, you could go down any street in Fort Worth and they have very lax planning and zoning. You could have a house, a strip club, a liquor store, a garage, you know, a tow shop, and then a neighborhood daycare, all on the same street, because they have very lackadaisical, you know, planning and zoning. Thank God, you know, St. Paul doesn't have that, and you guys are, you know, holding the line on that, and I appreciate that, so I applaud you for that. And I just say, number one, keep that up, and hopefully cut this off at the pass. Number two is item 4.5, the discussion of the fence ordinance. My only statement with the fence ordinance is, I think a fence, I don't have any disagreement with the fence ordinance. I think a fence ordinance is good to be in place. I just think that there needs to be considerations. The fence ordinance, where it's written, you have the ability to adjust to, not a single ordinance might be applicable to all applications in the city. And that's the biggest thing that I have. I know currently the ordinance says that the fence has to be 3.5 feet. You know, it's 3.5 feet tall for a front yard. Well, like the properties along Parker Road, a lot of the properties have horses. We have horse up in the front field. A 3.5-foot fence with our Mustang is ridiculous to put a 3.5-foot fence up in the front to keep our horse in. I mean, it's just, she will be on Parker Road instantly with a 3.5-foot fence. Our fence around our front is 58 inches or 5 feet, and it's up now, and we've all seen it. Now, and it all complies with the ordinance. It sits back correctly, but I found out about the ordinance because of the 3.5-foot setback, or the 3.5-foot, but it doesn't apply to mine. But I don't want anybody else in the same or similar situation up against that same little wall of, gosh, you have to have a 3.5-foot fence. You can have a 4-foot fence, you can have a 5-foot fence. As a matter of fact, that's a standard size of fencing, is 4.5 feet is what I believe. You can't go to Home Depot and buy chain link fence that's 3.5 feet. Nobody sells a 3.5-foot fence. So it's that kind of thing. When you do write the ordinance, when it is written and completed, I just want, and I hope that all of the wording in it and the stipulations that are in it comply to what would be most natural to the settings. Out here where we live, a lot of people out here either have horses or some sort of livestock or cattle or something, and those kind of stipulations of like 3.5 feet, it just wouldn't be applicable. And if the regulation is so stringent that it has to be, it's probably not going to be workable. So that's my little thought on that. I just wanted to give some encouragement to maybe avoid any of those things.
Right.
Other than that, I appreciate the chance to speak with you guys, and it was nice to meet you all.
Gary, do we want to mention that the draft ordinance that you're looking at this evening, we've been working on for several months now.
Yeah.
And as long as something hasn't changed from the workshop you guys had, I believe in the front now we allow 6 feet.
Along Parker.
Along Parker,
Road is 6
but there
feet.
has to be 50%.
But there's also a agriculture section that
Right.
allows for protecting animals and stuff like that. I don't remember the 3.5 foot, but it could be.
Well, 3.5
inside
was
of
in the old
residential.
ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So I thought we didn't have a very good fence ordinance before we started writing this.
Right.
So now we're still hammering out the little
Right.
details.
Right, no, I agree, and you know, and here's the other, and I told, you know, I've shared it with you. You know, I don't think that just any fence is appropriate either. You know, just because you can do a 6-foot fence, I don't think you should be able to put up a 6-foot steel fence that looks like it's, you know, out of a junkyard either. I'm not advocating for something high either like that. You know, our fence is 5 feet. We went to a lot of expense to make it look very nice and appropriate for the neighborhood. And, you know, especially around on corners and, you know, anytime there's a corner and there's visibility issues, you know, I think it's absolutely imperative to be able to have line of sight. I think that's...
We do cover that in the new one.
Yeah.
We do cover the materials you can use.
Right. Okay.
For all the fences, and of course, we had to cover commercial because there's commercial requirements.
Right.
You know, I think 8-foot fence, and you know, for the various utilities and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, we've spent a long time, quite a bit of time, we were pretty close, I think, to near the end.
Oh, great, right? Right?
Well, you know, the thing is the more, I mean, we've had a lot of eyes on it. So,
Right.
you know, everybody comes in with their, okay, what about this? What about that? And,
Sure.
You know, and so we're trying, and then, of course, it'll have to be approved by the council.
Right.
But we had a joint meeting, what, a month ago?
Couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and so we got their opinion. They had questions, and we answered them. And they had a couple suggestions, of which
Right?
we're talking about that tonight, as a matter of fact.
Right?
Okay, and then, you know, the other thing was, of course, you got pools and stuff like that, and they have fences around.
Sure.
And so that's another thing that we have to figure out what, well, we'll get to that, but we will, I don't know that we're going to cover it in the fence ordinance. We might reference it, I guess that's what I'm going to suggest, reference the international code
Right.
for that.
Absolutely, you know, and speaking of pools, that's absolutely correct. There's already state ordinances
Yeah.
for pool construction and the requirement of no-climb fence, et cetera, you know, around pools, whether it be, because you can do wrought iron as long as it's no climb. You know, you can have a see-through fence to be able to, if you wanted to around your backyard, if you have a pool, as long as it's a no-climb fence. That's the biggest thing, it just has to be no climb. And or like a wood fence. We have a pool in our backyard, and that's exactly, our back has a 6-foot wood fence around it, you know, a cedar fence. None of those are any kind of an issue. That's normal, that's daily operation, that's normal neighborhood operation, and I would expect that to be the fact. It's just I would hate that any kind of fence would include or prohibit anybody from segmenting off their property for a valid reason. You know, like we have a horse up front. If we didn't have a horse up front, there's a good chance we wouldn't have a fence at all up there. I mean, we would probably just be...
Yeah, I don't think there's a requirement to have a fence in your front yard, but along Parker, there was an exception because of the noise
Right.
of that, and so we raised the height of it.
Right.
It's still, in a lot of cases, is not a solid fence,
Yeah.
but, and that's all spelled out in the ordinance as well. But as far as the pools and spa, there's an international code that's adopted by Plano, by Parker.
Right.
And so why would we rewrite stuff
Right.
like that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, and that's what I would sort of encourage is there's already state level ordinances and guidance for some items, and if it were my call, if anybody, you know, said, hey Greg, what's your opinion? I would always say, instead of rewriting the book, let's use the current. If it's a current state law and it's a stipulation and a requirement and it makes sense, let's operate off that. I mean, there's no sense in complicating, because you guys know as well as I do, it's 380 families. You know, it's 900 people that live in the city of St. Paul. It's 300 houses. You know, it's not that you know, we're not talking about coming up with a new ordinance for the city of Dallas. It's 300 houses. It's all of our neighbors, and we sort of know what it looks like around here.
Well, and as you said, pools, the way when they build your pool, I've got one, I've had it for about 20 years. And if I read the ordinance, I go, I'm compliant because it's been that way forever.
Right, right.
It's not like we're inventing something, well, we better not be inventing something.
That's exactly.
Because it's already there. Yes, maintaining fences is a pain.
Oh, it
Maintaining
is.
gates is a pain.
Oh, it is. I got one right now that I'm just going to sort of cringe when I have to write another check to the fence company to fix the gate. You know, it's just going to be miserable, but
I'll tell you, it's about every 6 months, basically, because you have water and everything.
there it goes. The next thing you know, and the fence is leaning a little bit. You're like, oh crap.
Well,
How much is this going to cost? You know.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot of that stuff. So
All right, that's
we're not-
fantastic.
We're not, and you probably will be in your position by the time it gets approved, so you'll be seeing it again anyhow.
I appreciate it, guys. And listen, thanks for hearing me. I appreciate it. I'm not going to burn y'all's time. I know you've got to get through business and everything, so I want to just thank you for listening and appreciate.
Well, thanks for the heads up, because without somebody telling us, we wouldn't know until unless the inspector saw them building it.
Right? And then they're already building it.
But if
You
you
know?
don't have a permit, then, you know,
You would think that would stop you,
I didn't know.
but it won't, you know.
We do have catches for that stuff, but we wouldn't know without you telling us. We wouldn't know as much as we do today without you telling us.
And that's the thing, I think it doesn't hurt, sometimes people think, well, I don't want to be the one to bring this up, and I don't want to tell on somebody. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with looking out for your community, looking out for your neighbors. It's not just me. This borders 1405 Lakeview. It borders our house. It borders on the backside, Meadowlark is behind us. These are all properties that come together there at the back corner. And if you put that, if you put all those vehicles back there, it's bordering mine and three other neighbors. So it's not just me. I'm not just here because Greg doesn't like it. I don't care what you do. I mean, I think it's fantastic if you own 3 companies. That's fantastic for you. You don't do it in the middle of a neighborhood. I would be all for it if he says, I want to build it up here at the strip mall, or I want to put them at the strip mall. I would be the same person arguing at the city of Wiley that he should have the business on Park in the strip mall. I would be the same person saying, let's give him the permit to do it. It's business, it's light industrial, that's where it should be, absolutely, but not the residential. And that's my thing, and I wish more people, if they knew about it, if they knew about something subversive or sort of a little bit oddball, if they would speak up, because you guys wouldn't know what they're doing, because when they come in here, they're going to say, hey, it's just me, my dad, and my grandpa want to buy this house, and we're going to do our little stuff in the backyard. Well, number one, he didn't know, I was going to be on the council, and he didn't know I wasn't going to travel up here and say, I'm going to go speak to planning and zoning. Right. Bonehead, you're telling me what you're going to do. You're putting 3 freaking businesses, literally 150 feet from my house. Are you out of your mind? And you want to do a mechanic shop. If you do a mechanic shop, you're going to have oil and gas and all the other chemical components that you might use. Any of us that's ever worked on a car knows all the chemicals that go into it. How are you going to dispose of it? If you're already doing this subversively, you're probably going to throw it in your trash can and roll it out to the street instead of disposing of it properly. So it just kind of, it's sort of a never-ending battle when I see that kind of thing going on behind the scenes, and I know you're going to do one thing subversive. I guarantee you're also not going to dispose of your chemicals properly either. You're probably going to just throw it in your trash can and ship it to the to the dump. So, which is wrong. Additionally, but anyway, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I'm going to actually get out of your hair because my day's already started off long. So, nice to see you again, brother.
All right.
I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
All right.
All right, so we'll begin at number 4, the regular agenda. And 4.1 is approval of the minutes for December 16, 2025. So if you two will read through those, and then I'll accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I will second it, so they're approved. We will move on to 4.2, and that's the discussion of approval of minutes for the February 9th work session with the town council. So again, after you look through those, I will accept the motion.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. For the joint meeting.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those are approved as well.
Jason, did you second that?
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Okay. We will move on to 4.3, which is discussion of possible action for the preliminary plat of the country club storage adjacent to Hasdaq Trail. Is that you? Okay, so this is the drawing, right?
Yes, you should have.
You kind of talk about, I did have this on down, but I guess I put it on again.
Jim, can you explain a little bit of what you're proposing to do on the property?
So Jason will do that.
Step up.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. So this is the area you're gonna,
All right, yeah, let me get
This is
there.
Aztec.
All right, this is the house, and that's Aztec driveway here, that's a garage. Right now, this is the back part of our property, and we're already storing different vehicles there. Gate is here, there's some gates here, and that's a little office. And we're just, we're gonna end up.
is this the area you're gonna be doing?
And this, there's,
In your fingers.
well,
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, anyway, it's gonna be a building, these are not enclosed buildings, these are just, it's
So you're
covered.
like
covered-
RV storage, you're just
covered
covering
RV
over them
storage, yes.
in case somebody throws hail at it?
Somebody throws it there.
You know.
It'll be in this area and in this area. This will still be open market here. And the black line here is an existing fence. We don't have but there is a fence to here. We're trying to, one of the things that they're doing, this is a dry creek, so the water flow is here, and one of the things that we're doing is creating a right-of-way for water, is what, the water flowing off this lot. If I own both of them, but if I sold this one or sold this one, the water still needs to flow, legally across the property. I guess that you've got, well, I know you've got property owners back up here that are creating water.
Okay. All right, so this is the preliminary,
Right.
and then you will have to come up with a final, right, that'll have to be run by us and the county. I think so, right?
Yes, so once they prepare the final, we'll forward the final to the county for their review. So at that time, they'll look at the OSSF suitability, and once they get approval as far as the OSSF, then we bring it before P&Z, the final, for your recommendation to council.
Right.
Now you've got in that plot plan, or in the paperwork that we've got.
Oh, yeah, I didn't, okay.
You've got the layout of these are proposal. That's right.
So one of the concerns about this area, or these types of businesses, is lighting and how that disturbs the neighborhood. Is it St. Paul on both sides, or all sides?
Well, it's in our ETJ, so we have limited controls. However, if something becomes a nuisance, and it depends upon how you define nuisance, then the town can have some enforcement.
So where on this is St. Paul specifically?
So St. Paul's gonna be back this way, so this is Aztec.
Yeah, so none of our properties actually touch it.
No,
Oh, okay,
no, so it's gonna be further back this way.
Okay.
Because right around here, this is where Aztec takes the bend.
Okay,
And goes out
okay.
to Country Club.
Okay.
And Parker would be sitting up here.
okay, so these
Yeah.
lights aren't gonna, that was the only
Right,
thing, because
right,
if it was a house here or right up against here, then I'd be worried about that.
There already is an existing house there.
But it's not a St. Paul house, right?
No.
It's a county, okay.
No.
That was what I was,
And the county's gonna be reviewing this as well.
Okay.
so-
I was gonna say the county will catch it.
yeah, I was just gonna let you know, if there are St. Paul, like that would be something that would have been of concern. It might be to these people as well, outside of, is the lighting and how it faces, that sort of thing, so it doesn't,
Right.
it's not St. Paul, so I'm
What-
good.
Do you need more definition from me, or do you have enough?
No, that's
No,
fine
no.
right there, unless they have any questions, Jim.
No. And the drainage has already been reviewed by our engineer?
Yeah, so-
that's great?
So we, the county engineer reviewed it from a high level, the standpoint that the water that drains off this property really impacts county property. So the county will do a more in-depth review once the final plat, construction plans go in. But he made certain, our town engineer, that it wasn't going to be, that there wouldn't be any additional impact on the town of St. Paul. And you can see in his letter that there's none.
Yeah, okay.
I guess my question is, at what point, the county is going to want our our commercial building
Right,
plans.
right.
Y'all aren't into that, that's
No.
theirs, okay.
That's theirs. So this evening, Jim, if P and Z approves the preliminary plat, my next step will be to reach out to Misty at the County Development Services tomorrow to make her aware that P and Z approved the preliminary plat. Our next step would be for your survey to prepare the final plat. I'm going to ask Misty, once the final plat's been prepared, do you want me to forward it to you to review and sign off before I take it to P and Z? Is the direction I'm going to look for her. Okay.
I think what I understood, there's some more septic information that has to be on this final.
Yes, there will be notes that, and that's left up to the county, and they'll decide what notes need to be included on the final plat. Exactly.
Because we're not, the septic that is there is what's with the
Right,
house. We're
right,
not trying to
right.
put, a dump station or
Right.
anything that,
Right.
be septic related to this. And not really trying to give them any water, it's just the power only in those buildings.
Right.
So this is just parking, they're not actually camping there, right?
Absolutely not camping.
Okay.
All right. Any idea how many RVs you're gonna store like that? Is it just gonna be RVs? I mean, you already do
It's already
both, right?
Well,
Like over here, it's
yeah,
just gonna be
Is
RVs.
this
Yeah.
what it will be? Like
Yeah,
1,
it's-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Times two.
Oh,
Those are-
times
those are-
two.
Those
Oh.
are 25 foot.
Okay.
Okay.
So it'd be, and the short version there. And then but this is already an asphalt, crushed asphalt parking
Okay.
lot for, look at all of this area.
So it's just going to be this right here? What's in this area?
That'll be open parking.
Just open, oh, okay, okay.
Because we've got open
So
parking.
just covered, and then I got you.
Yeah, covered.
Okay.
If you want to see a current satellite view.
Oh, okay.
It's even has the gray asphalt.
Pretty up to date on their satellite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
So given that it's ETJ, this falls out of the purview of our standard commercial, like the wall and all that sort of stuff.
But we do have to, unless you have more questions for him, we'll need to take a vote.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Any additional questions?
I don't think I do at this time. Seems pretty straightforward.
Mm.
Well, I don't either. So can we have a motion? I assume that you're not against it, so.
Do we need a motion to vote, or do we need a?
Need
just
a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary plan.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that is passed.
All right. I'll be in touch with you, Jim,
Okay.
tomorrow. All right, thank you, sir.
I'm going to be stupid now. Boy, is the paint line.
That's
gotta
the
be-
Park Road extension going over to, what is it, State Highway 78?
And looking at it, because I've been out here all my life, so.
Yeah, they started construction about 6 months ago.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, because I saw the railroad tracks there. and,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite interesting.
Yes, sir.
I'll look at it some other time, y'all are not.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so is there anything to talk about, 1403 or 1708 since?
No, I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of interest on both those properties. We've had quite a few phone calls. regarding different tracts of land. And the property on Parker, you know where the storage bargain building is, not the RV across the other street, but storage bargain right off of Parker, the large storage facility.
The new one?
Yeah. There's a vacant piece of land there that's owned by Texas Vehicle Exchange. And they're looking at the possibility of purchasing the land right behind it. It's occupied, it's in the county, but the front part that they own is in the town. And the tract of land behind it they're wanting to purchase, there's a lot of automobiles there. I think they use it as kind of an automobile repair shop or something. They will probably be coming in to discuss with you in April the potential of building an auto sales store there called the Texas Vehicle Exchange, which are high-end vehicles. The average price range is from $90,000 to $180,000. So
And this
we'll
is
probably,
different,
go ahead.
this is different from the other?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I'm sharing this one with you because it came up recently. And it will definitely probably be in front of you by April, just kind of give you a heads up on it. I'll forward you some information within the next week or two about what they're proposing. But if you want to, you can look up their operations. Currently, I think they have operations on Farmers Branch, if I remember correctly, called the Texas Vehicle Exchange, TVE. So if you go to TVE.com, you'll be able to see the type of facility they're talking about. So we'll probably look at some preliminary feedback from you.
And
Ken-
where are they located?
I think it's Farmers Branch.
No, currently, like where they're wanting to,
I'm
so
not
it's
doing
the newest RV place?
No, let me show you on this map right here. This will be easier for me to do.
This wasn't the
Yeah.
lady and the man that came and talked to us.
No, that's
No.
not.
No, this is completely different.
Okay.
So they own this piece right here.
Oh, up there, I'm
And this
thinking
is,
way over here.
no,
okay.
and this is unincorporated, I'm sorry.
Okay,
And
okay.
this is the industrial area where you have like that bargain storage or
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is.
okay.
And they own this piece right here. What's the
Okay.
purple? Purple's like an office space.
Okay.
And then this right behind is all unincorporated. So they're trying to purchase this piece right here as well.
I got you.
And they would just like to get feedback from the town if that's something we'd be willing to
Okay.
work with.
Interesting.
Well, that's a Parker, right?
Yeah.
Parker Road right here.
There is a car sales, but it's over to the left a little bit. It's
Yeah, it's over,
Well, that's
off of
over-
Old Parker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
right
over
there,
here.
So not very far though.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would encourage you to look at their website, TVE.com, I believe, Texas Vehicle Exchange. Yeah. And then I'll forward you some more information over the coming week as well. So you can do some homework before the meeting.
Has there been any discussion on like the percentage of like storage and car sales as part of the town's commercial? Is that something we can control or? Because like it seems like there's like there's a
started again.
And storage car church, storage car
yeah,
church.
it's like maybe it's just where we are or maybe that.
Well, I think the storage facilities, when they were built, and they still are, they're in the ETJ, so we really can't control any of that particular use.
And I know we're right next to the lake, which invites people storing boats and RVs.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, and just like this one that recently opened up here where they allow people to stay, that RV one right off of Aztec.
Yeah.
That will eventually evolve. And because that land will become too valuable for it to sit there as an RV, for people to park their RVs and rent. So I'd say probably within the next 5 to 10 years, it would evolve. And it
That's
would be like-
probably what they said to the place in Saxe that still has RVs parked there.
Really?
Right off of 78.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They usually always do. Maybe.
Maybe that's the light, right?
Yeah, they probably thought, oh, that's gonna disappear. I don't know.
That's the only hope you have, quite honestly, because it's in the ETJ.
Yeah.
But again, this is one of those exercises we need to think about in the near future. What would we like to see happen along Parker Road, especially in the ETJ? Because there are things you could do to potentially have landowners work with you. But that's going to have to be some give and take as well. Or else you're going to end up with uses, quite honestly, that you're, like you said, all these RV storage facilities.
And they really don't, they're not here for the town of St. Paul. Like, the citizens of St. Paul can store their own stuff.
Yeah.
So that's not for us,
Yeah.
the RV storage
Yeah.
thing.
Now, I'll bring it up, and I've brought this up a few times. In Fairview, that whole commercial district was in the town's ETJ. And if the residents could have stopped development from happening in Fairview, they would have done it. Trust me, they would have done it. But they had realized if they did not get on board as far as working with the property owners, it would be dictated to them what would happen. So they had the vision to go, okay, look, we may not like it, but if we don't start working with property owners in the ETJ and try to make this a collaborative approach, we're going to end up with things that we probably don't like. And that's why you have that commercial area today inside of Fairview, because they work together with the property owners. And even on the east side of Fairview, where Heritage Ranch was, or is, I was in the ETJ too.
Well, I mean, this conversation has come up before.
Right.
And there were talks about us doing it ourselves, which
Right.
I thought would never happen.
Right.
I mean, that's just me because,
Right.
it's just human, I think.
Right.
But then we didn't want to spend the money.
Right.
You were gonna get a proposal, but that kind of got stopped. I get it. So what we're gonna end up with is we're gonna live with what shows up because we can't legally stop them.
You cannot, as far as uses, that's correct.
So unless we set our own path of what we think we would want,
Right.
we can't really stop them. So. I mean-
Unless you start working with them, so.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but we're not doing that.
Right.
There's no
Right.
plan to do that because
Right.
we kind of balked at it.
Yes.
We collectively, the
Yeah.
council, us, the majority rules here.
Yeah, yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, if we don't plan or help plan,
That's right.
then we'll live with what comes. Because
That's exactly
it'll be a
right.
lot of, I mean, I almost fell over when I saw a church, another church.
Yeah.
We got so many churches, you
Right.
could go to a different one.
Every day and not even, for the month.
And
and
start
still-
over again. So, I mean, I don't have anything against churches, but too many of a good thing is,
I would really,
Not good.
and we've talked about this before, but I would really encourage the town leaders, which includes you all, along with council, to really think about preparing a financial model to look at what it's going to take to sustain St. Paul in the long run, as far as just your daily operations and capital improvements. And then, once you understand what your financial needs are going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years, then you plug into that financial model different land uses that could generate the revenues to sustain the town of St. Paul without relying solely on property tax and having increased property taxes. And that's really what needs to happen first. Because once you have that model, and it's a model you will own as a town, you can go in and manipulate the land uses as far as determining what level of revenue you need in order to sustain St. Paul and its
right?
streets and drainage and everything else. So,
My sense is, we're not on a good path right now, right? Because we don't have enough revenue to sustain. Our taxes, the way we're being taxed now, won't sustain it, right? I mean, I don't have any facts, so I'm asking if I'm I sense we're not on the positive side.
Well, I'll keep it brief, because I've made this public on several occasions, and it's in my reports, but your three largest revenue sources for St. Paul, property tax, obviously,
Right?
sales tax right behind it, and then the money we have in our tax pool investment accounts, we rely on the interest to balance our budget. All three, I want to be careful what I say here too. So we have maintained the property tax rate the 2 years that I've been here at the no new revenue rate. And what that means is that we adopt a rate where, a property tax rate where we do not want to increase revenue from property taxes. We want to keep it the same as far as what we collected last year. So if I collected $500,000, I want to collect $500,000. It's that simple. Well, eventually that catches up to you, because even if you look at the comprehensive annual financial report this year that was provided to council, you'll see it was the first year that we've had a negative return in property taxes because we collected less than what we did the year before. Sales tax, a concern I have had is that you're having a lot of development outside of your corporate limits, which will eventually start to erode some of the sales tax that you're collecting inside of St. Paul. Your largest sales tax contributor right now is that landscape company up there off Country Club, kind of hidden in the corner where that little strip center is. They are your largest sales tax contributor.
Really?
Yes. And every time I drive by it, I've told Alex, I said, I'm worried if they ever move, because if you ever look at the site, it's packed. And that's a valuable piece of land.
Yeah.
You ever lose that, it's a significant amount of tax coming into this town. And so if you imagine losing sales tax to restaurants over on the other corners that are in our town or whatever it may be, you'll see your sales tax drop probably within the next couple of years. And the interest, that we earn off our investments in tax pool, we did make a strategic move this past summer where we moved all our investment funds into one tax pool account that earns a higher interest rate. So we saw our interest earned go up to $10,000 a month instead of $9,000. But as you start to erode some of those reserves to do capital projects, you're not going to have that same amount of money coming in. So you're not going to have the same amount of interest coming in to balance your budget. So I've tried to inform council that we need to strategically look at our capital improvements based upon when property taxes are coming in. The best time of the year to really focus on capital projects when revenue is coming in is from January through April, maybe till June. So like when you do patch holes or crack sealing or those type of projects, try and do those projects during that time frame because you have revenue coming in that can support it instead of taking the revenue out of your investment funds, because then you still maintain that interest coming in that's going to keep your budget balanced. So, and I don't want to say that, obviously, that, well, I guess I am, because some, but I'm not, it's just reality. And I know I have to be careful on that, but that's just reality where you are. In my opinion, I've been doing this for a while, and
Yeah, I agree, but, I don't know how to start that. If you said, hey, Gary, it's your responsibility to figure it out, then you'd be in trouble. So, we've got to keep moving on, but it's something that we shouldn't lose sight of because, as you said, another church, another used car lot, whether it's expensive cars or it's another, that person that they talked about was going to put in selling wood and working on cars.
Mechanic and something else.
And,
construction.
Nursery equipment, right, or landscaping equipment. So it's okay. It's not okay, but I think we should try to take control of that for some reason.
you're restricted to a 2-acre commercial, like just in the surrounding area, what is?
I'm not certain what the logic was behind that back when they, no, it's
Because
not.
it seems like that's some sort of the side effect is, oh, I have to have 2 acres. Well, what am I going to do with 2 acres? I'm going to put RVs on it, you know?
Well,
Or-
septic, I mean, part of it may have been septic when they established that rule, so if you're in a commercial, maybe they thought you needed to have,
Yeah,
2 acres, but.
There's a comment, that couple that wanted to start or build another car lot location in St. Paul. They were, it was brought up, like, well, this lot's only like 1.7 acres or something, so it's
Right.
not big enough. And
Right.
he just kind of quipped, like, well, I'll just buy the lot next to it. And I was like, that's kind of, you don't want that. you
Right,
know?
right.
The reason people coming in like, oh, I gotta buy 3-4 lots, then I'm gonna cobble them together and
Right.
kind of get this
Right.
crazy, just, you know.
Well, right now, I mean, if anyone really wanted to build something different along St. Paul, the majority, or along Parker, they'd have to come in and do the rezoning, unless you're at those areas that we were just talking about. Because those are really the only areas along St. Paul, or Parker, that you can build anything that's commercial. Everything else, at least on this map, is showing residential.
Until they make the road go through over to Walmart or whatever, and then there's a short spot of that that's in ours, right?
A lot of that's in your ETJ.
Right. So it's still
Right.
a thing unless you want to mine with used car lots.
Right.
All right, well, let's move on to 4.5, the discussion and possible action on fence ordinance.
So, he brought up a good point. I was trying to see exactly where we talked about barbed wire, but where do we?
Yeah, there's-
Barbed wire
looking
was only for horses.
Yeah, but he was saying he has horses, so do we need to put something in there about,
Yeah, there's no explicit exception for like livestock, or there's no.
yeah,
like,
in your
livestock.
front yard kind of thing,
It's
so.
only mentioned for barbed wire, and then there was one
And
other.
it was also for electrical.
Yeah, electrical.
Yeah,
For animals.
so should we put something that's like a agricultural piece on there? So if you have large animals, like horses and emu and whatever, alpaca or whatever, should we have something in there, in here that mentions that?
I think you'd have to, because my neighbors would be non-conforming immediately. Because they have horses and cattle and things like that.
Could you not build a pipe rail fence under these current regulations, though?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. We don't mention, because the front of your yard, the fence has to be 4 foot. Well, his front yard's not 4 foot.
Is it 4 foot? Is that,
And that's what it says, no front yard fence shall be erected to a height greater than 4 feet.
With the only exception being on Parker.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
so should we mention something about critters? Critter containment. I guess we never really imagined people putting animals in their
Horses
front
in their
yard.
front yard.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, like my neighbors, they just have, it's almost like they just pass, their house is in the back of the property, and they just have pasture
Yeah.
up to the street.
yeah,
So it's their front yard, but it's really just
right.
horse pasture, or, you know, cow pasture.
And it can be the same visual, opening, that sort of thing, not solid, 50%.
Yeah, most of them are just, it's pipe, metal pipe with
Yeah.
some, either welded wire or woven wire. Typical animal fencing.
Yeah, because, it's on.
Well, okay, so in
Page 8.
front yard requirements on, I don't know what page it is.
Six
Is
of
it 6 or
13?
13?
Mm-hmm.
In the blue, it does say, fence height exception in recognition of the high traffic volume along Parker. That's Parker Road, of course, which is what would cover this guy. I don't know, how residential properties adjacent to Parker Road may construct a front yard fence up to 6 feet in height, extending from the front wall of the residence to the front property line.
Yeah, that matches his, only because this Parker Road thing's here, but
Right.
like his his neighbor already, your neighbor's not off of Parker, so.
No, yeah, I'm on Lakeview, so.
Yeah, so,
My neighbor across the street has horses, next to me is cattle. There's some donkeys kind of across the way, so they typically
how
have-
tall is their fence?
The one across the street, it's either 5 or 6, but it's a metal pipe and then you just have like woven wire livestock fencing.
Should we just add something in here that says if it's for livestock, which is better than the terminology I was thinking, but if it's for livestock, then that needs to have approval.
I think that's a good idea. I mean,
What page are you all looking at?
6 of 13, just the front yard requirement. So if you have, and maybe we have something in here that says that, if you need to do something a little different than variances.
So I'm looking at page.
okay,
8.
so in 3, if you go up to, it says a solid area in the front yard fence shall not exceed 50%, of course, which is what we agreed to, with no mass of solid material, with, widths, not heights.
Yeah.
I thought it was height. Oh, I see, you're saying for the 1, CI, no front yard fence shall be erected to a height greater than 4 feet.
Yeah.
You're near it, you want to add an exception there, unless you've got animals in the front yard.
Something to,
You want to make it up to 6 feet?
the height, I don't know, it makes sense. We do have a lot of people whose homes are way far back in the back of their property, and they have their livestock in the front.
And their front yard could be
Yeah.
90% of their yard, right?
I mean, basically, they just have their whole yard, and it's their animals, except for the driveway coming up, so.
So how would you specify that? Are you going to put an exception? I guess without reading this entire thing, it would have to be an exception, right? For
Yeah.
agriculture to have up to a 6-foot fence.
Well, I think we should say livestock, because I think that's
Livestock,
yeah,
okay.
that's a good, I'll put
I
agriculture.
guess my question would be, is there something like the pool fence? Is there something for livestock that exists as far as sort of you then refer to that if you're keeping livestock? Is there some standard by which?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know,
Reggie,
all these people live out in the middle of nowhere, in
Yeah.
the county, so they're just putting up their own fences.
Yeah,
We speak to the livestock underneath the barbed wire section on page 8.
Yeah, but that only establishes
Yeah.
the height of the barbed wire.
Yeah.
yeah, and if they choose to use barbed wire, but,
There's where you.
Actually, it is a contradiction, because it can't be
Yeah.
less than 6.5 feet, but you could make a fence taller than 4 feet.
Well, I
Well,
think
what he
this
was
is-
talking about is, it's in the page before, it's on 7 and 13. It's right at the top, it's 3.07.007, fence design, material, and construction. It shall be unlawful for any fence that is electrically charged in any form or manner to be erected in a residential area. That restriction does not apply, and it says 30 inches. At the bottom, there's in blue, 30 inches and a minimum height from the ground of 24 inches is a reasonable distance, right here.
Right. As if you run
Oh.
electrical.
oh, it's in the.
Well, electrical, I'm assuming that would be for livestock, right?
Yeah.
Electrical charging must be low voltage, blah, blah, setback.
But his is just a pipe fence, so I don't know that he has any electrical part of his fencing.
Okay. So I'm not sure exactly where we put it.
So let me ask you.
Oh, sorry, the height requirement is only for commercial, not residential.
Yeah.
On barbed wire.
Right, that's because they wanted it at the top, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you try to crawl over.
Gary, why don't you give me kind of the specifics or general idea of what you're trying to accomplish? And I'll draft some language and see where it would fit within
Okay.
this ordinance here.
So-
Okay, so we're, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, so, we wanna be careful with the exception, but also allow for livestock to be in the front of the home, with the 5 or 6 foot, I
I
don't
think 6
know.
foot is fine, because that's the exception we made for Parker Road, so 6 foot has already been there.
Yeah, I
There are
mean-
certain exceptions, so.
And do we want to, kind of localize what materials you might use for that in your front yard?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty typical, like, what people use, like woven wire fencing, and it comes in like a 4 foot or 5 foot roll. They're pretty standardized. You can make it out of something else, but a horse or cow is just gonna lean on it, knock it down or something, so.
So like a wooden fence with that woven up to it, or a pipe fence?
Mostly you see pipe around here, metal pipe.
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well.
If it is wood, it has to be proper. I got really into this a few years ago, but I had to build a livestock-proof fence. If you do it wrong, then it will just fall over. So yeah, it's like there's tension and all sorts of stuff. I don't know that we can get into that on here, but
We just gotta be careful that we don't contradict ourselves in another section, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So does that help?
Yeah, so what I have is, we want to be able to allow livestock in the front yard at a height of 6 feet.
Right.
And probably define some type of material, but what I'm picking up is that everyone's comfortable with kind of a pipe rail requirement.
yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll see where they just put like, so you'll see like a big fields, like the corners will be reinforced, and then they just have T-posts, because they're running all the tension off the corners, so they just string it real tight.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just so you could do, we could allow that, but it's more like really out in the country type stuff. It's,
I know what you're talking about, where you have pipe rail in the corners and you use T-posts through the rest.
yeah, so you build the corners real strong, then you
Right.
just stretch that wire taut from corner to
Yeah.
corner, then the T-posts are just there to keep it from
Yeah.
going from, leaning or whatever.
So what I can do is draft some language, see, make certain it doesn't contradict any other sections of ordinance, put it in there as a draft, and bring it back to you, Tim.
Right.
I would much rather run it past you guys before I take it before council, make sure you get comfortable with it.
I just think if someone's doing like livestock fencing, you don't have to worry about like obstruction, right? They're not building a solid wood fence.
Right,
Right.
that's the
Right.
other thing, that we need to make sure that it's still
Yeah.
palatable to the rest of the community.
Because again, like if you just built a standard like wood fence that people have, a horse or a cow leans up against it, just it's
Yeah.
going over, so.
Or the wind comes up and leans it over.
Yeah.
And the horse is gone.
Now, the other thing with this, when we left the last meeting, with the joint meeting, was mounds of dirt.
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to go over, and
Okay.
then those are, we have to have a discussion on. Okay, so let me go through this. I think some of this stuff is okay, like on page 2 of 13, A, town administrator, code administrator, any administrative official, that's fine, that change.
Okay.
You guys can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, because
We will.
I've looked at this, but, all right, so we jumped, because there's not much for a couple more pages. And then there's one on page 5 of 13 in B, removing the 2. Offense must not create, you don't need a 2 in there.
Okay.
And then in C, I think somebody accidentally, let me see, impede access to public utilities or metering devices, or be permitted. So or, that's okay to have or, and not a capital
Yeah,
or.
yeah.
Right, okay, then the next page, let me see, under C, so we're on page 6 of 13, let's see, II, front yard fence material shall follow section 3.07.007. So that's probably where you're gonna, you may look there, Scott.
Yeah.
Because that's a fence material.
Yeah, so Okay.
If there's an exception, you might want to put it in
Okay.
3.07.07, that's a guess, because we specify that. If we go down to 5 in that same section, that's where the Parker Road residential fence height exception and recognition of the high traffic, blah, 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 6 feet. And then in the handwritten stuff, it basically is implying that they have to follow all the other fence stuff.
Okay.
Like 6 inches, it can't be a solid fence, you
Okay.
have to have the spacing. I hope that's what that says, because
Yeah, it does.
the best I could see. And then 6, any such fence must be designed and located to avoid obstructing, this is that site thing, that triangle.
Yes.
And so, yes, that, because that, we had to clarify that to the council,
Okay.
that we weren't. Okay, so then at the end of that, it says, and fence placement and ensure compliance with visibility and safety standards. So that's on the next page, 7 at the top. So that's what that is all about.
Okay.
That's acceptable, right?
Okay.
I mean, we did say it was acceptable. And then we talked about, they wanted more clarity on the setback from the original fence, and this has to do with the electrified for livestock.
Okay.
And so the blue is okay.
Okay.
I think we said, well, at one point in time, it was a generic statement, and then we threw some things in there, because I think
Yeah.
we kind of just pulled them out of the air,
Yeah.
but they kind of said that was okay.
Okay. The metal.
The metal stays,
Okay.
because they asked to leave it in,
Okay.
so we did. Then we get on page 8 of 13. And this is where some of the discussion starts happening. If you look at E, retaining walls greater in height than 36 inches shall be in compliance with a design submitted by a registered engineer. Well, we're talking about residential, and we don't really have retaining walls for residential. So when we talked about it, the council kind of said, well, if they have, their property goes like this and then drops off, we allow a retaining wall to build it up so it's even.
Right.
Otherwise, it'll drop off, just
Right.
look in their backyard.
Right.
And I said, that makes sense.
Right.
So if that's the only retaining wall you're calling it, is to level out, if it dips off, to level it up so the fence is kind of somewhat level, then I guess I'm okay with that. And I
Okay.
think these guys didn't raise this thing, but you're certainly welcome to do so now.
Okay.
Did we define retaining wall?
Well,
We probably need to do that in our definitions, because I don't see that.
the problem with a retaining wall is the only other place we have we have a masonry 8-foot wall, and I didn't want to conflict with that, because that's between the retail and commercial, right?
Mhm.
So we may have to put a drawing in there, what we mean by a retaining wall, because, a retaining wall for a fence isn't going to retain anybody, you just walk over it, right?
Yeah.
So, and we don't want people to build themselves a fort.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got a 6-foot mound down almost size my house.
Yeah.
What's stopping you from building a big wall of dirt and have your 3-foot fence on top?
Well, that's the problem. You can level, I think that's where we gotta come in with it's gotta be, you can level it up, but you just can't build retaining walls. Does that make sense, Scott?
Have we always had this section in the ordinance?
I don't know if this was put in or not. I don't know. It was a question that came up, and I'm not sure I understood.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, because we've been dealing with this for a while, but I'm not certain retaining walls belong in the fence ordinance.
That was my first thought, but then when, I think the mayor
Right.
said, what about when their property drops off on like a corner or in the middle? And so now you've got this fence that has to follow the terrain, and it dips down, and now the fence is not functional.
I think what,
Is that a separate permit? That's like a separate pen.
yeah, it is.
So you could put in there that this has to be permitted and looked at by an engineer, or something like that, and just don't say that it's not allowed beyond that, or something.
Yeah, so I also see definition of retaining wall, so what I'll do is I'll go back and look at if cities use a standard definition for a retaining wall, prepare a draft. But I want to say this language is elsewhere in one of our town codes.
You know, that's maybe where it came from.
I think it
Yeah.
is.
Because, and I looked at it initially and said, we don't want to have another place where there's a retaining wall.
Right.
When we've already got another one.
Because our walls aren't, I mean, our fences aren't supposed to be earthen, so,
Well, and this is solid.
and this would be
Once
solid.
you build, yeah, it would be solid, and we've already stated that you can't build a fence
This-
around your house that's solid.
Solid,
Right.
yeah.
Let me, because I'm pretty certain this is elsewhere in one of our codes. I've just got to go back and look, because this is almost identical language.
Well, it could be that, you know, I don't remember putting this in here, so it may have been when the council looked at it, they put it in there.
And put it in.
And I think their thought was to level up, you
Yeah,
know, the land. So I get that, but
that's not, I mean, in my mind, that's not a fence. It's a wall that you're constructing in order to, it's a landscaping wall.
Yeah,
It's different.
yeah, and again, if you're building it up and it's a
Right.
drainage area,
Right.
well, you really shouldn't be able to do that, right? Because you'll be, somewhere you're gonna be stopping
Right.
water or changing the flow. All right, so, anyway, that's the gist there, and I didn't really, the way the council explained it was something to level up.
Right.
But I didn't understand why it was here, and I don't remember putting it in here, and I guess you guys don't either, so.
So what I'll do, I'll go back and see if we have this in the code somewhere else. See if I can find a definition for retaining wall.
Okay.
And so we can make a more informative decision, is this the right place? And if it is, how do we want to define it?
It just adds another exception, you know, because it's solid,
Right.
and now you can put a dirt mound as opposed to a fence.
Right.
And like you said, maybe then you put the fence on top of the mound, and you got a 20-foot, well, not, okay, we get
To
out.
me, to me, it doesn't really make sense to be in here, because it's like, if your yard, you know, whatever the topology is, you want to build a fence, it's going to follow it. If you want to
Right.
level it out, that's a different process.
right.
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 So you still have a 4-foot fence regardless of what the land is.
Maybe you need a
Changing land
permit
is a different.
and an engineer to look at it,
Yeah, definitely.
because
Because that could cause
you can
issues.
get yourself
for-
in trouble, or
Yeah.
you probably get yourself in trouble, but you can cause trouble.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay, the next one, maybe the last one, I'm not sure. No, there's a couple of those. Okay, is G. And I'm not, again, a person constructing, or maintaining a fence or wall enclosed around a swimming pool, hot tub, spa, comply with minimum requirements of the building code and other applicable laws, see Article 3.06. Okay, it's not 3.06, because I went through, I couldn't print anything out because all I got was a read-only version. And so this is the code, and these are the sections. So, you know, 1 is scope and administration, 2 is definitions, 3 is general compliance. It's more like 8 or 9, placement of, I can go through all these if you want me to, but I will. 4 is public swimming pools, that doesn't apply here. Public spas, public exercise spas. And then 6 is aquatic recreational facilities, not really. 7 is on-ground storable residential swimming pools. So in other words, you can take them down and move them around your yard. 7 is permanent in-ground residential swimming pools. 9, that's 8, and 9 is permanent residential spas and permanent residential exercise spas. And then 10 is portable residential spas and portable residential exercise spas. And then 11 is something else, standards, and A is the board of, so if anything, this would be pointing to 3, it would be pointing to somewhere in the 7, 8, 9 thing. I think that what I think we should do is, you know, just tell them what code we're using. And don't put it in here because it's another place we have to maintain.
That's right.
yeah, I think the concept presented in the joint meeting was that we actually do put it in here, but I agree. I think if we already have something solid, maybe to point to specifically what we're talking about, so maybe 8, 9, 10, listed here,
Yeah.
and then whatever those are,
Yeah. I
because
mean,
we don't want to repeat. What if they change them and modify them, and we gotta go back and modify?
the next time,
ours?
if we say we're following a code and they change the code,
Right,
and this will say refer to 3, and 3 is not anything what we're talking about.
right,
And then you gotta maintain it in 2 places, and anytime you gotta maintain it there
Right.
more than 1 place,
right,
you should change it to only maintain it once.
right, exactly.
I know, I do a little code. You get caught in that trap, you will go nuts,
Right.
which is why I have my. But, no, so, I know that's what they suggested. We'll just tell them,
Okay.
whatever, here's the pool requirements that are in the whatever
ICC
that
code.
ICC code, and by the way, it's 2021, but there's a new version
Yes, there
in
is.
October
Right.
of 25, and that's the one I was referencing.
Okay.
But I couldn't copy anything because it was a read-only version, so I don't know, I read about 150 pages, and if you want me to read that, you're not gonna get it.
So we would prefer to at least reference the ICC codes in this section rather than being specific.
Yes.
Whatever the most recent ICC codes the town has adopted in regards to pools, falls, is
Yes.
what we should follow.
And when
Right.
that becomes put in the ordinances in the future,
Right.
whatever that,
Right.
wherever they're gonna put
Right.
that code,
Right.
then this should say C section, or C ordinance, blah, blah.
Right.
So we don't have to put it here, because we'll be caught in, we'll
Okay.
get caught here
Yeah.
with referencing the wrong stuff when they change it.
Okay.
I mean, that thing, I looked at, it was 21,
Right.
it got reviewed in 24, November, there were some things that were changed, and then in October, so that was pretty much yearly, and we won't be able to keep up.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
And then we've got the last page, and we're on page 9 of 13. 4, replace deteriorated is okay. And then 6, any and all offenses that are or 50% faded or something like that, that's okay too. Disrepair or something like that. So I didn't mean to run through there fast, but
That's all right.
I wanted
I
to
mean,
make sure that.
did you want to cover this part, 11 of 13, are you still working on it? Yeah, we're,
I don't know, where is it? I don't, okay, sorry.
that's,
I didn't get that far.
it's this one, you wanna, so we have on page 10, is that 10? Yeah. I don't know, that reserved was there. I guess that's fine, but this is the part where we're talking about the abatement of unsafe fences and other violations.
Oh, okay, now I remember, but I apparently didn't print it out. Okay, we had a comment statement, and we had removed it because it was gonna be put someplace else in the ordinances, but they said, okay, it should be in this one, because this is your first ordinance. And I said, okay, then we'll just put it back, for now. And again, back to we shouldn't keep putting things in multiple places, because you gotta maintain them. But, that's right? They were
Yeah.
complaining because, why did you take it out?
Because council adopted,
They're the ones who were complaining.
Oh, that's
so they
this,
adopted in September the rules for code enforcement.
Oh,
And it speaks specifically to
okay.
abatement.
Okay, so then it shouldn't be in there. It
Exactly.
should just reference
Right.
whatever
Right.
they adopted.
So if you look at page 3 of the policies, and you look at the second paragraph where it says voluntary notices,
Uh-huh.
voluntary notices may not be issued in circumstances where there is imminent or ongoing threat to public health, safety, or welfare presented by a violation. So before that, we talked about the process that we want to provide voluntary notices for people to comply.
Okay.
Here we're saying that does not apply if there's a threat to health and safety. So then if you go down to item number 4, where it says reinspection and enforcement, It further states, if a reinspection reveals that the violation has not been corrected within the timeframes provided, well, ignore that, I'm sorry, ignore that. Go down to item 5, the very first sentence. If the code enforcement officer determines that a violation remains unaddressed, a citation will be issued in appropriate court, blah, blah, blah. But then go down to number 6, abatement of violation.
Okay.
In certain cases, the code enforcement officer is authorized to abate violations when they pose a threat to the public health and safety or constitute a nuisance. When the town abates a violation, it will seek attached liens, blah, blah, blah. So they have a right, the code enforcement officer, to abate it rather than going through the entire code enforcement procedures. And what I'm trying to prevent when I start reading through this is it speaks to the time frame. So you read the very first sentence of what's in the ordinance, the blue. It says the property owner to whom a notice of violation is issued shall repair or take other actions on offense within 30 days. You go back to the policy that council adopted in September, and you look at the very first page of that policy, not the resolution, but the policy itself. Actually, I'm sorry, it'd be page 2. Under voluntary compliance, we give a residential property owner for their first voluntary compliance 14 days to comply. Then we go to the second voluntary compliance because council wanted to give them a second chance to comply. It's another 14 days if you look at the very last sentence under item 3.
So close to the 30 days.
So we give them 28 days.
Yeah,
And then after that, we start enforcement. So here we're saying 30 days.
here we say 20.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. we
With a
have-
reminder midway.
Right, and that's what I'm trying to prevent, where we already have procedures outlined, no matter what the code is, and whether it needs to be abated.
Yeah, then we shouldn't put it back in.
Right.
Because we're
Right.
contradicting
Right.
ourselves, because we're trying to put
Right.
it in everything, when
Right.
we should only have one statement.
Right.
It
Yeah.
should cover.
And that's exactly why this was adopted.
And I don't know why they said, why did you take it out? And it's like, I thought we had it in another place, but I didn't.
Well, when we
figure out-
first talked about it several months ago,
Well,
Cam actually brought it up.
Okay.
And we talked about it because we had prepared these draft
Okay.
procedures. And Cam said, yeah, why put it in there?
Right.
So we took it out. And I would assume, council's not going to remember everything they adopted. So I just need to remind them that, hey, you have the procedures outlined here,
Yeah.
which apply to any ordinance.
Yeah, we don't want to do
Right.
it twice.
Right.
The thing is, we won't be able to keep up.
Right, exactly. And you already are contradicting the statements that you approved back in September.
Yeah,
Right.
again,
Right.
it's because we didn't probably see the final version. Yeah, it's too, no, we'll get wrapped in that. Okay, then I think.
And then this,
Was there something else?
No, that's it.
within any rolling 12-month period, repairs should be measured cumulative and shall include all segments repaired or replaced during such period.
That's in normal repairs in the,
Mhm.
in the fence thing?
Mhm.
Is that also covered in that?
Where are you at?
On 11 of 13, under 3.07.01, number 1, it's in red, just down below that.
No, that's not in
So should we leave that in there, in the fence?
there. In any rolling 12-month period.
Oh, but this is a non-conforming fence, right? So this is when
Yeah.
they're fixing a fence that
You mean like my fence?
that already isn't conforming once this goes into play. So they can fix it as long as it's not destroyed more than 50%.
Right.
After that, then they're just gonna have to
So you
replace the
just do
fence.
20 and wait a year and you do another 20.
That's how I'm reading it.
You know how much those fences cost? Yes, I did think that.
Yeah, I think that's why the agricultural livestock exception is important, because
keep going, like, if it got destroyed, they wouldn't be able to put it back.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so there could be an issue where they're like, oh, I was non-conforming.
Right.
Now,
Now
it got
you-
destroyed or knocked down, and now I can't put it back, or then you're in some variance thing.
Well, I think
Yeah.
what is, that somewhere in there it says everything's non-conforming once this becomes, everything that existing is all non-conforming. Is what they said, yeah, I think that somewhere in here, I thought that's what it said. And then, I mean, even if you comply, I suppose you could say that you're complying, but I think it states in here that anything that's already in place is non-conforming. Yeah, here it is. It's on page 2 of 13, and it's E. Any fence that was constructed before the effective date of the ordinance which established this article does not meet the requirements set forth.
Yeah, it does not meet the requirements.
Which,
So what about the last section, on page 12 and 13? 13 of 13, it's a penalty clause. The violation of any provision of this ordinance or the regulations adopted hereunder is a Class C misdemeanor. Would that be under the, would that be covered under the
main one that's
the main one that was adopted?
I need to speak with Clark about that particular statement. Was there discussion when you had the workshop regarding it?
No, I'm just, since we have this now and see it and touch it, I'm wondering if that penalty clause falls under
Let
there.
me, usually, I don't want to, let me speak with Clark about that, Tammy, and then I'll get back with you. Because there's usually a general statement, any ordinance that's violent, it's a Class C misdemeanor.
Okay, okay.
And so is it really necessary, but I'll check with legal before.
And maybe if it is necessary, then it's put in the big one, and not in the,
Right. I'll double check.
it's interesting because that repair thing is stated here too. Right here. Or close to it, right?
oh. Oh,
It's on page 2.
yeah. So that's repeating words too.
I think those are the definitions, so interesting.
Okay. I'm going to go back to page 11, 13, where we talk about the 12-month rolling. Did you say leave that in?
You said 11?
Yeah. 11 and 13, the very bottom, within any rolling 12-month period.
Yeah, because that wasn't in.
Okay.
Yeah, but he was just looking at, that's also in the definition of repair. Isn't that what you just saw?
That's what I thought. That ruins my idea of trying to do only part of it. Oh, but it doesn't say that in the repair under, or H on page 2. Only at the end.
Oh, that's just a definition general of repair, so no
Right.
more repairs may be made to the, okay, okay. It doesn't say the 12-month one, okay.
Okay. So see, the only way you get out of it is you have to wait a year.
You're right.
Unless you hurry up to do it now. Does that make sense, Scott?
Yes, sir.
So is the person for 4.4, will they be back in, or they decided not to present, or?
I'm sorry. No, he sent me an email this morning that his client, so the individual who was speaking with me before emailing he's a realtor, he's representing a client who had interest in both. First, he had interest in 1403. And supposedly, the gentleman that Greg was talking about this evening had supposedly put money down to close on that property. So he was thinking about backing out of that property, being Steve, and he wouldn't turn his attention to 1708. And I received an email from Steve, who's the realtor, and instead his clients decided to back out of both tracks at this point.
Oh, okay.
Now, the gentleman that Greg was talking about, I haven't heard if he backed out or not, but his realtor was sent a letter or an email from me outlining what we had heard. The uses would not be allowed. I referenced the code. I referenced where they need to go look in the code. And then he came in the following day after I had emailed his realtor. We talked about it. And it seemed as if he was going to back out of the deal. I can't tell you definitely.
Is the realtor that's selling the property, like, using that as leverage to sell the property, to say that it could be commercial?
I don't know what communications happened before. Could be. Any property that's zoned, someone can come and ask you and the council if we consider rezoning. So that option's there. But to go close on property without doing your due diligence is a little risky. And so Greg actually emailed me the morning when he had a conversation with the gentleman. And that's what led to me preparing the email I sent to his realtor, and it all kind of happened pretty quick after that. And like I told the young man who came in that morning, I said, because he was upset about it. And I told him, you'd much rather hear about it now than after you close on the property. And he agreed. So I told him, make certain, if you're looking at other property in St. Paul, you review our codes, you look at the 2021 zoning map, and we'll go from there.
Okay,
So what I'm going to do is make the changes, again, based upon what we talked. I redraft some language, bring it back to you at your April meeting, and we'll probably have the final plat for Country Club Storage, and we'll probably have the gentleman who's talking about the Texas Vehicle Exchange proposal as well. We'll probably have a couple of things too.
okay, all right. Then maybe we can get the fence ordinance back to council.
Yeah, yes, I'll have it. I'll have it to you in April.
All right, well, we're at that time. May I have a motion to adjourn? No. Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I second that motion. Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.